Welcome, everybody. Hope we're all okay out there. Hope we're. I think everybody's now getting ready to get back to work. By the looks of it, after yesterday, I think we've got a few bits to look forward to on that side of it. So this week we've got some great guests as always coming in with us. We've got our usual suspects as well. So just to start with, SGH Sporting Events, just remember, get on our page. You're watching it now. Like and share it. Get it out there. You know, we've had some fantastic guests over the last 8 weeks, and we've got some more coming up this week as well. So get onto there, like and share our page as much as you can. That'd be fantastic. Also on there, you can find a link for the NHS as well. As you all know, we do these for the NHS. We try to raise as much money as we possibly can, and every penny is going down there. We've had a couple of auction prizes which we've put out there, which was a tenner a time. Now you can just donate whatever you want. If it's £1, if it's 50p, if it's a tenner, if it's 50 quid, whatever you can afford, you know, please put it in there. It'd be greatly appreciated to the NHS. You know, as always, Simply Video, who are behind us looking after our streams, you know, they've been fantastic with us. And, you know, as you say, we've literally had no problems with them. Even Linny's had full KC communications all the way through when Linny's been on. So we've sorted them out as well, which has been good. Our sponsors today are the Barnett brothers from Blue Rinse. They are coming on at some point as well later on in the show today. They're going to come on and ask a question as well to our guests.
Barnett brothers.
So the Barnett brothers.
Could they come on with the scissors?
Do you know what, Linny? They're not even for haircuts. You know, it's I think it's vintage clothes, is it not?
Yeah, down in Leeds, vintage clothes. They do all sorts of stuff, but at the moment they're concerts and these big outings. Sadly, they're not doing much, but they've got a couple of shops down there, the Corn Exchange, for people who want to dress a bit vintage.
That's all right. We know where Hurdy gets his clothes from now. That's perfect. You know, talking to our guests to start with, Hurdy, you're up there. How's things with you, mate? Are you all good? You had a good weekend?
All good. Yeah, great weekend. Yeah, as we all know, the weather was great. I had a couple of games of tennis this morning with that. As we all know, Caney across the road, and I whooped him 6-0 first game, and then we were at 5-all second game. So we've had to hold it because come up here. But yeah, everything's great, mate. Thanks for asking. Yeah.
Perfect. And Linny, we've got down there. How's everything with you? I know you've been having some building work done, and you know you a crossing Hull. Come on, a crossing Hull.
Come on, get it right.
Geography's not my favourite subject.
Yeah, cross here, all good. Yeah, I've got tennis myself tomorrow with Mr. Windass, so that should be fun.
Well, one of our guests as well, who was on earlier in the show. You know, you've got to beat Windass, haven't you? You've got
to wallop him. You know. He'll just be running for fun, won't he? He'll lose a stone playing against me.
He'll have his paper, his brown, bin liner on just to sweat it all out. That's what Windass will be doing. You know, yeah. He's definitely in the old school in that way. And finally to our guest today, Dave Coldwell. Dave, how are you doing down there? It looks nice and sunny in Rotherham.
It is, do you know what? That weather's been a godsend these past 9 weeks. I don't know what would happen if it had been rainy every day. No, we're all good. Family's all good. We've adjusted to the new norm quite well, to be honest. Just kept ourselves busy and occupied.
And in the boxing world,
it's only 11 degrees there by the look of it.
I'll tell you what, you've got a sponsor in already.
That's a good one, mate. I didn't even get to the mouth, did I?
So you can't get away with anything with Linny. He's quick as a button. He really is. Dave, how's it been, for you in the lockdown? How's it been with with all the guys you've been involved with and so on and so forth? And, has anything changed? Have you been doing anything different, or has it just literally been get on with it and we'll see you later on?
So we do FaceTime boxing sessions. So basically it's everything. I've stripped everything back, technique, slowed everything right down, and it's everything apart from me being, the physical one-to-one side. I can't obviously take him on the pads. There's no sparring, but other than that, we've worked and we've concentrated on technique quite a lot. And it's like what I said to him, at the end of the day, we're in a situation where you can either sit back, get the face on and just let time, pass by and waste it, or you use it to the best that you can. And the likes of Jordan Gill, I can see in him already. I can see that he's actually improved technically because there's been no pressures of dates and things and diets and, which restrict them. So we've just been able to fully concentrate on technique and slowing things down. So he's got what I've been wanting to do with him.
Fantastic. We're going to go right back to the beginning with yourself, Dave. We're going to go, where for you, where did the love of boxing come from? How old were you? How did that work in your early days? Because it does seem to be boxing is something which is kind of inbred in people a lot from a very young age. How did you get into the boxing world? Well,
I was your typical school wimp. Football was my thing. I love football. Always from my granddad took me to Old Trafford he died when I was 5, and I remember him taking me to Old Trafford.
Hang on, he just mentioned Old Trafford. He's just mentioned Old Trafford here. Come on.
He's watched a couple of episodes of Coronation Street.
So I've always been, Diego Maradona was the man when I was a kid, and football was my passion. But then I got to comprehensive school, and then things took a bit of a downward turn. I had a really hard time at school, getting bullied and basically getting smashed every day, getting mentally abused every day, and I had an hard time at home as well with my parents. Well, my mother. So I wanted to box when Rocky was on the scene, when Mike Tyson came through the scene, Sugar Ray Leonard against Marvin Hagler. That's one of my earliest memories of seeing it on TV. But my mum would never let me. And it wasn't until I was 15 that I started boxing. And it was for self-defense, basically, because I'd had enough of the stuff that went off at school. And I decided one day, this is it, this is what I've got to do. Basically, the kids locked me in a metalwork cupboard, threw paper towels at my feet, through the back, which was just like a metal strips, so you could put your hands in, threw paper towels in, and then set them on fire. So I got fire at my feet in a little cupboard. And I thought, this is it. At 15 years old, I've got to do something, because it's all right while you're a kid, but what happens one day when I'm older and I'm walking down, at that point, you don't think about having daughters, you think about having a son. And I'm thinking, one day when I walk down the street and I've got my son, and if somebody that bullies me or wants to say something to me, how am I gonna react? I'm gonna protect my kid. So I wanted the boxing to give me the confidence, because, and it sounds silly, but because in those days I used to watch. Do you remember Karate Kid? Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing was the bullied kid learned how to do karate and wanted to beat everybody up, and that was my motivation. It wasn't to become a champion at first. It was about picking off these bullies one by one and getting a bit of confidence. But I ended up falling in love with the sport, and the camaraderie in the gym and things like that, and Brendan taking me under his wing, it completely changed my mentality. So it ended up being my life.
And you talked about Brendan Ingle there. He died 2 years yesterday as well. He was a massive influence on your life in general, I'm guessing, and not just you. I'm guessing a lot of kids going through that gym as well. Just explain what that man was like for you, and also for people coming through that gym, going through the similar kind of situations you've been through.
Well, it was very unorthodox. You'd walk in, and me as a kid that have people racially abusing you, shouting out names as you're walking past their house and stuff like that as a kid. And then you're going into him and into his gym, and then he's calling people these names, and you're thinking, at first, whoa. But it's about conditioning your mind and reprogramming your mind that how to handle a situation like that. Because he would tell stories about how people would end up in prison because they reacted to how somebody had approached them, somebody had name called, somebody had do things that press the buttons. When there's people out there who want to see your downfall, they're gonna look to press buttons on you, and then people would react. Good people would react, and then find themselves, they hit someone, and because they boxed, they've knocked them out, hit the head on the pavement. You end up getting done for manslaughter, and your life's done. You're in jail. So he would condition your mind to be able to handle things like that in a more positive way, or just just let it go straight through your ear, which helps with things like that not affecting you. But there's so many different ways. Each person was individual. Each person had different problems, and he'd tackle that in a whatever way needed. Some people he needed to be hard on. Some people he needed to put an arm around. And he had he had a great skill in doing that. Forget the boxing side of things and what the champions he's produced. I'm talking about kids that you've never heard of. I'm talking about thousands of kids that you've never heard of that would walk into that gym and be a mental wreck, like I was, and then walk out, go and get a successful, go and get a job, have families themselves, and go on to live successful lives.
And going through that side of it, what have you taken from that yourself into your coaching career with these guys coming through? Do you still see that happening now with your gym, with people coming through having the same situation as what you were, and what encouragement do you give them, with your own little twist on it? Yeah, because so originally I set up an amateur club, and I've trained kids from 6 years old up to 18 turning pro. I've had kids all the way through. So in them sort of time frames, you see everything that's going off in kids' developments. From, like I said, problems at home. I've dealt with a kid that was getting similar to what my problems were at home, where he'd be getting beat up by an alcoholic father. Mine was my father was the problem, but he was getting beat up by an alcoholic father, and then having to deal with things like that. And I was a lot younger back then. I mean, we're talking probably 2000, just before 2000, 2002, up to that point. And so just being able to empathize with people, and when you've been through a lot of issues yourself, you kind of know what it feels like on what they're thinking about. But also seeing how Brendan dealt with every different situation, you pick up things on that, just human interaction. Because I didn't know how to speak to people before I walked into that gym. So if somebody had introduced you to me and said, "Hi, Dave, this is so-and-so, so-and-so," I just start sweating. When you start going hot on the back of your collar and you start feeling, I just start sweating because I'd be too embarrassed to speak to you, or I'd be just shy. So to think I've gone from that kid to working on television and things like that, but that none of that would have ever happened if it wasn't for boxing, and if it wasn't for being in that gym environment. And then I left home at 15, so I had to grow up. So all that sort of mixture, I wouldn't be without boxing. I wouldn't have been able to cope with it at all. I'm going to say, moving out at 15 as well, it's a huge thing in anybody's life, moving out of home and such. But at 15, it must be, a real, what's the right word for it? A real harsh kind of. At 15, you're still a kid at 15. Is what I'm trying to say.
You're growing up pretty fast, aren't you?
Yeah, and suddenly you have to grow, and you're being, as you say, you're being bullied till a certain point, and you're quite shy at that point. That 15 to 18 to 20, what happened in your life at that point? Was it just boxing?
Yeah, that's all it was. Boxing. I mean, my first ever job was as a car valeter at Eric's Motors, which was a Rover dealers, and so we'd get the brand new cars, and you'd have to de-wax it all and everything. It was horrible. It was the hardest job I've ever done in my life. Physically, it was very hard. A lot surprising trying to get that wax off and everything from the factory. Oh, mate.
Is that where them guns came from?
Yeah. So I've always, and when I was at home, because I didn't have your pocket money and stuff like that, I had 5 paper rounds at once. I remember I used to do paper jobs and stuff like that. I had a milk round that I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for, and then I ended up having 5 paper rounds, 2 paper rounds on a weekend, the morning, the nights. So I earned my own money from an early age, and that's just stuck with me all the way through my life. Is that you have to work hard. You have to, I didn't have much given to me as a kid, but I wanted things, and I'd see other kids wearing. Do you remember BK British Knights? I think it was the trainers and stuff like that. Yeah. Kids would be walking around and stuff like that, and I'd have trainers or shoes that were flopping with letting the water in, holes in and stuff. And so I wanted stuff like that, but I understood at that point I'm not. I'm going to have to earn my own money to kind of like get things that I want. And I remember my mum. Because my mum was Indian, my mum is Indian, my dad's English, so I'm half and half. And my mum went back to India for about 3 months. She went, just before, well, it wasn't far off before I left home, so I will have been just 15. It was going into the last year of comp, and I remember I'd saved all my money from my paper and stuff, and do you remember Top Man? Top Man had a sale, and he had all these shirts and everything like that. And because I was like this little scrubber at school, I got picked on for what I wore and stuff like that. So I thought, right, last year at school, I'm going to change my image. So I went and I bought. I remember they were something like £5 each, these shirts. And I went and I bought a whole new wardrobe of shirts and stuff like that. So I'd first day at school, I'd go and I'd look quite smart because they didn't have uniforms back then. And so I did that. And I remember when she came back. She basically accused me of stealing money off my dad to go and fund this wardrobe and beat the shit out of me. But yeah, I had to leave home at 15, and it's not something I wanted to, but I had to. And if it wasn't for boxing and the side of my mentality that brought out, then I wouldn't have survived.
Yeah, and going into it, like you did, I think it was 19 fights you had. You went into obviously boxing in that sense. You trained with some people down there. Nassim, Johnny Nelson in particular, I think were two names which come up quite a bit. Yeah. And were they influential in your career or influential in just watching how they were?
Massively. So Naz was the dream, the fantasy, so to speak. You'd look at Naz and see what was happening with him. And I was fortunate enough to go, I was in that circle where I'd go around with him on fight week and, be with him the night before the fight and walk out with him to the ring. I mean, I did all that sort of stuff. And you'd see everything that go on and you'd see the circus and you knew what was real, what weren't real. So you learn a lot from that. But that side of the thing was what you'd love to be. But I was always very realistic. My hero my idol in that gym, and in my life growing up was Johnny Nelson, because Johnny came through a bad situation like me, a bad start to his career. He had no confidence like me. Brendan would tell us stories about even in sparring, when he started, he'd cower up, so I could relate to not having no confidence, and I could relate to Johnny. And Johnny was a really good guy, I mean, back then, and he kind of took me under his wing, and I used to just follow him around the ring, so follow him around the gym. So he would, at the end of his training session, he would do his abs, he would do his pull-ups, press-ups, and dips. So I would just follow him around and do each one and just copy him, just do each one. And that sort of thing has always stuck with me. I've seen Johnny stay in shape as he gets older and older and older, and that's been a motivation and inspiration still for me to this day. Because he's like 10, I think he's about 10 years older than me, maybe a little bit younger, maybe 8 years older than me. And I've always wanted to make sure that when I get to his age, I'm still in that shape. And I've always been like that. And it's it's still followed me to this day. But as a career, I always used to hope that my career would end up like his. It wasn't to be, but I always used to hope that it would end up like him.
Yeah, and well, obviously, Hurdy's got Naz's nutrition advice as well. I think going forward, I think he's been working down that one. Looking at going forward a little bit, you go into, you've done your fights, you kind of come out of there, you've realised then that you're more into the promoting of the fights, you're more into maybe the back room, and then also coaching these guys. How do you get into the reputation which you have now certainly have in the boxing world with these top fighters? How do they find you? How do you get to that level for you personally? Was it a bit of luck, being in the right place at the right time? Because a lot of sport people do say that, or was it just pure hard work? I'm in the right place with England. I'm going to work down that route. It's
starting at the bottom. I started at the bottom and built my way up. I started with amateur kids. Did it on, I started with amateur kids, then a couple of them got good enough to turn pro, so I got my pro license to turn pro with them. And then you're working with journeymen, guys that they're going to get beat, and you're just working with journeymen going up to Scotland and not getting back until 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, because back then I weren't a name, so I didn't get put up in hotels, so I'd be driving back all for 12 minutes work when you're going and your fighter's going to get beat because he's fighting the local prospect. And getting all that, you're training them, you're doing everything, going up there, coming back, and you get £80 for it. I've done all that. So I've started at the absolute bottom. Kept on going. And then you start having a few kids that you're building up, and they start getting to 4 and 5 and 0, and people start noticing, oh, he's not got a bad little young stable. And then it came where I had a journeyman come to me, and he won a British Masters title, which was a minor title, but it's a title, and he got to number 6 in Britain, and he was my first champion of any type. And then Ryan Rhodes came to me. He approached me, and I remember, because I used to train with Ryan, and Ryan remembered me from being that kid at Winkerbank that didn't have no confidence, and that was nervous, and so he remembered me from that. And I remember saying to him, listen, if this is, if you're going to come to me, the first thing you need to do is you need to forget about that kid that because that's not me now. I've grown up since then. I am a completely different person. And if this is going to work, if you're going to come to me to coach you and manage you, then you need to listen to what I say and take that on board. And to be fair, for a man that had been somewhere else for 20 odd years, 22 years it was, he spent his last 8 years of his career with me, and he won British, European, WBC silvers, and fought for the WBC world title. He did that because he just completely listened and gave me the respect from day one. It wasn't none of this, well, I remember you from when you were this and you were that. It just took me as a completely different person, and it worked. And and that's when I think that's when it worked, when people started sitting up and taking notice. I mean, while Ryan was me, Kell Brook came over. Kell won a British title with me. Lee McAllister won a Commonwealth title. And I think in that little cluster, then people started taking notice a little bit.
Yeah, you talk about Kell Brook, and obviously we all know what he's been through as well. The one which I'm interested with, because obviously I'm a ex-footballer, is Curtis Woodhouse. A little bit, because he came from a professional sport of football to played at the top level, and then came to you to train as a professional boxer. How did that come about? Was that a conversation from him to you, or it's just a strange combination of two sports?
Mate, we just all thought he was an absolute nutcase for giving up football to come to boxing. We were all like, what are you doing that for? So he had his first pro fight and then came to me. And during his first pro fight, the funny thing is, when I said we, I'm talking about the lads in the stable of mine at the time. We were all watching it. And so we're all messaging each other. Yeah, obviously, I remember I had a journeyman called Daniel Thorpe. Daniel Thorpe was he'd won about 19 fights, lost about 64, but a good journeyman. Give good prospects a test and give him a good fight. But he texted me and says, Dave, get me this kid. I'll knock him out. I'll beat him 100%. Next minute, he's boxed, and he was terrible on his debut. He was terrible. And the next minute, I get a phone call from his then manager saying, would you be interested in training Curtis Woodhouse? I was like, it was Dean Powell. He's died now, but he was Frank Warren's right-hand man. And I was like, Dean, mate, what do I need that for? So he's going to be a prima donna, footballer, thinks he can box. I don't need that sort of attitude. I know he's going to like. He says, well, he's a nice kid. He says, just, what about having a session, seeing what you think, and see if you. I went, all right, I'll send him up. I thought, go on, we'll have a bit of sparring session and see what crack is. So it came up day one, and do you know what? It was sound. It was so respectful. And I liked him. But the first thing that I said to him after that session, I said, because he was a southpaw, I said, why are you southpaw? And he says, I don't know. I said, what do you mean? My trainer told me to be southpaw. I said, well, are you left-handed? He was like, no. I said, do me a favour. I said, tomorrow, because the first day I just look at him. I just if the box I just watch him. Yeah. I just want to watch him, break him down. Don't do anything with him. I says, tomorrow, I says, come in. I says, I want you to do everything orthodox. I looked at him. I went, just trust me. I said, just do everything orthodox. I went, all right. So the next day he came in, did everything orthodox. We did some pads, everything. I said to him at the end of the session, I said, how do you feel? He went, bear. He went, why is that? I went, because you're not a fucking southpaw. I said, you're an orthodox fighter. And so from then on, I had to rebuild him and teach him everything as an orthodox fighter. And we had ups and downs. He lost a few fights, but he did all his learning because he had no amateurs. He did all his learning under the spotlight. Remember all the media fuss? Yeah. Footballer turns boxer. He had a lot of pressure on his shoulders, a lot. And do you know what? There will never be another man that has worked as hard and has been as determined as that man. You know, there'll be people that do it as much and be as determined, but I don't think you can be more determined than what that man was, because the ridicule he got when he got beat in those times, and for him to come back firing and end up winning that British title, mate, what a story that was. What a story.
Yeah, absolutely. He's thrown some spanners into Man United's works as well on Twitter this weekend. I think, I don't know if you've seen them about...
It's full of rubbish.
You know, he's talked about Giggs being an average player and things. I think he got a bit bored this weekend, didn't he?
That's what he does. When he gets bored, he wants to cause some aggro on social media. But you know what? The closest I've ever been to unfollowing him is this week, when he's been talking about Scholesy and Giggsy like that.
Yeah, I think Scholesy's lads come on and giving him a bit as well. I think it's been quite funny. And going forward to like 2008, you kind of. You left, really. You went with Adam Booth and David Hay, didn't you? And, kind of got into their stable as such. How did that come about? And also that further down the line with, obviously, Tony Bellew and then the fight between David Hay, a bit of needle came in there as well. And, talk us about how you ended up down there, because you do sound like you're a bit of a homeward lad and you want your stable. You had a successful stable kind of coming through. What made you go down there with those two?
So, basically, when I'd known Adam and David A for years, since before David turned pro, just before he turned pro. Through a chance meeting at the Hilton Hotel in Sheffield, and I always got on with them. And Adam had always said, we need to work together, we need to go to work together. But I was like, I had my fighters going through with Frank Warren at the time and things, and everything was all right. I didn't. When I say I had my fighters, I'm talking about my journeyman. I had opponents boxing on there, and then with Ryan got an opportunity with Frank, and Frank looked after Ryan, brought him back, and obviously Kell Brook as well. But things happen in boxing, and when you're not, when you haven't got big fights lined up, promoters forget about you as such, and nothing was happening, and bills were mounting up. I had a gym to run that was losing money. People think that people with boxing gyms make money. They don't. It's a loss leader. And I was losing money. And basically, Adam rang me up one day. He says, "Listen," he says, "we've got something in the pipeline." He says, "I want to offer you a job." I goes, "Oh," I said, I still get work on Warren shows, and I'm all right. He went, "Let's just meet for a coffee." So they came up to Sheffield, David and Adam. And we met up in a Starbucks on Division Street it was, and they outlined the plans. They said, "Look, we're going into partnership with Golden Boy. We want you to be head of boxing for Haymaker, run everything on the boxing side of things, putting shows together." This. So basically, everything I was doing for myself on a small budget, on a big budget, because they said, "We've seen what you've done with no money and no backing. We want to give you a budget and go with it." I was like, "Wow." He says, "Well, what?" He said, "What would you want as a wage?" He asked me what my financial situation was, and it was dire. He says, "Right." He says, "Well, he says this is the wage that you're gonna get." I was like, "Flipping heck!" At that time, I was like, I went back to who's now my wife. I went back to Lou and I said, "Look, well, I said, I've been offered this." I said, "It's a guaranteed wage, and it's an opportunity of working at the top level." And so I said, I'm gonna go for it. So I did. I went to Haymaker. 2 weeks after taking the job, I'm sat in a meeting I'm sat here, Oscar De La Hoya sat there, Richard Schaefer's there, Eric Gomez from Golden Boy, Adam Booth and David A. And I'm sitting in this meeting about signing off as 5-year partnership with Golden Boy. I'm sat here, I'm listening to Oscar De La Hoya talking, I'm just thinking, how the fuck have I ended up here? My head was just like, wow, but you're styling it out and just talking as normal. Inside you, this little kid that's like jumping up and down. And so life completely changed. I'm putting on shows at the O2 Arena and Manchester Arena, going over to Germany and being part of David A, winning world heavyweight title. And, being in Cyprus for 6 weeks at a time on training camp with him for the Klitschko fights and stuff like that. It was an unbelievable experience. It really was.
And then obviously the big fight, which certainly I remember in that, and obviously the nearest fight for me, with Bellew and Hare, there was that, I'm guessing there was a fallout between you and Adam and David Hare. I'm only guessing that. You can tell us a bit about that. But
do you know what? No, do you know what? David's David, right? He lives in his own world, and he's changed. He has changed now over the years. But he was a guy, just off the top of my head, just so you can understand this sort of mentality.
Yeah.
One day, while I was working at Haymaker, he got a brand new Merc, like 130 grand Merc it is, right? Something like that. And I've jumped in, I'm in passenger side next to him as we're going somewhere. And he's like, oh, press this button, these massages and shit. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This car's unreal. I love cars. And he's just driving, he just went, why don't you get one? And I just looked at him and went, what? Just if you like it, just get one. I went, Dave, I said, down my price bracket. I said, you know what I mean? He went, yeah, but I don't understand. He said, if you want it, he says, just go and get it. It's like, mate, you pay my wages. You know what I'm getting paid. You know that I can't afford to buy this. But his mentality is, because his world was full of money and things like that, his mentality was, if you want it, just go and get it. It don't make any difference. And, when he retired after the Klitschko fight. Everyone just went. There was no conversations, no nothing. And I just went back on and built my brand with my promotions and my shows. Got on with my own stuff. There was no contact from her, nothing. And then obviously the fight came about. And when we sat on that press conference table, when he started going at me, that was a complete shock. I did not expect that to happen whatsoever. I was like, what? Okay, that's how you're going to be. And the relentlessness of it all through the build-up and everything, it was a shock. It was a complete shock. I mean,
on that side of it, on the press conferences, we all watch these press conferences, and the interesting thing for me is is it a circus? Is it or is it real? Is it that these people
that was real.
Just generally, because some of them are, we've had a table flipped over, which I think you were involved with, and with Chisora, there's lots of things which go on. Is it all what it seems, what we see on the TV?
The ones that I've been involved with are 100% real. 100% real. I mean, it's honestly that press conference. It was a shock. It was a shock. I didn't know whether he knew exactly what he was going to do. We didn't expect that because he opened up just going hard at Eddie Hearn, and we was like, listen, it was quite funny until he turned on me, and I was like, what? And it was like, and the thing is, when somebody goes at Bellew, then Bellew will react and Bellew will go back, and it's like boxing's a lot to do with emotions and pressing buttons and getting into fighters' heads, and I think David was just a very angry man at that time.
I think you're right. And I think for me, Tony Bellew came across as like the genuine guy and the guy who was, humble, and he still comes across that way, because I've been watching a little bit the SAS, which he's been in, which has been fantastic. And I think seeing him in there, and then they've kind of broken down a little bit on that. But, how did that come about for you with Tony Bellew? And obviously the two fights in particular, was it a chance meeting, or was it something which was always on the cards that you two would be working together?
No, it was never on the cards as such. Never something that I expected. But before he turned pro, he came down to have a sparring session at my gym with one of my fighters, and it was brilliant. I was like, "Why aren't you pro?" He says, "Well, I'm actually about to sign with this promoter." And at the time, like I said, I had fighters with Frank Warren, so I said, "Look." I said, let me see if I can get in touch with Frank. I said, let me see if I can get you meeting with Frank. He went, I've tried 3 times. He says, one, I'm driving down there. It's the cancelled meeting. I'm not interested. I said, trust me. I said, I'll get you a meeting. So I rang him up, and I rang, it was Dean Powell, who was his matchmaker. I said to Dean, listen, Tony Bellew's a TV fighter. I said, you need to sign him. It was like, we have looked at him before. I said, listen, he's about to sign with this other promoter. I said, you're going to lose him. I said, get hold of him. I said, it's well worth it. So we arranged a meeting. I went down with him, and he turned pro. But that was it. I just left him to it just because I got on well with Bellew. And then we've been friends ever since. I used to go to all his fights, stuff like that. And then the last couple of light heavyweight fights he had, he asked me just to come in the corner, just to be there, just to be a friendly face as such, and just to help out in the corner. So I did, and I went over to Canada with him for when he lost to Stevenson, and that was terrible. That, you know, to see him on the morning of the weigh-in, it was just like it was like a skeleton man. And then obviously it was a bad loss, and then that was it. And I remember it was December. It rings me up. It says, "Would you be all right coming up to Liverpool, up to my house? This is for a chat. It says, I want to have a talk about my future, and see what I can do." I was like, "Yeah, all right." And I was just as a mate, and so I've gone up to his house. We're sat in his kitchen, and then he's asked me if I'd come on board as part of his coaching team at the time, to help his coach and do it 50-50. I was like, yeah, fine. But his coach didn't want to do that. And so he then rang me after and said, look, he says he's not on board. He says, I want you to be my coach full time. I went, okay. So that's how it started. He asked me, because I'd walked away from coaching then. I wasn't a coach. I was just a promoter and manager.
Yeah.
And so Bellew brought me back. And it just took off from there.
Was that such an easy decision for you, or was it a hard decision because you had got another business going?
Yeah, because it was a one fire, I can manage it. My life's all about time management, and if you can, there's 24 hours in a day, so I've got plenty of time to fit things in, and that's how I see things. And so I knew I'd be able to manage it. So I did, and it turned out to be the best thing that I've done. Funny enough, before that as well, before I was training him, I actually promoted one of his fights. I won a purse bid for his fight against Danny McIntosh. And I thought, right, because I was trying to get into get a Sky deal and things like that. That's why I was doing shows. And I thought, right, this is going to be the one. So I spoke to Eddie about putting it on Sky, doing it as co-promotion. And Eddie was right, yep, okay, no. Bellew said, I'm going to sell it out. I'll sell it out. This. Mate, we lost a fortune on that show. It didn't sell. It didn't sell at all. Me and we lost 30 grand each on that promotion, Eddie and Coldwell Boxing, and it was a nightmare. It was, honestly. So in time, Bellew paid me back. It took a while to pay me back.
I'm not surprised.
It's not like Eddie to lose money, is it, on a deal?
Eddie used to manage us as well.
You'd be surprised.
Eddie used to manage us, Dave, me and Linny. Well, Linny mainly, of course, because he was a much better player. But when Eddie was probably 20, we're probably 5-6 years older than Eddie. What's Eddie, about 38? Right. 30, yeah. And he managed us. So Matchroom went into golf. Matchroom went into golf and they managed me and Linny. And then he got another guy to manage it. About 7 or 8 of us, weren't there, Linny?
Yeah. It was.
What was he like as a golf manager?
Oh, he's even at 18, 19, whatever he was when he came out. I mean, he had a 45. He had his old man's mouth on him. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I've seen him because I love watching them press conferences and whatnot. And I think it was it the Chisora one where I think it's the only time I've ever seen Eddie stumped for words. I think it was the Chisora.
When was it? When Dereck threw the table?
Yeah. I can't remember exactly. Yeah. I just remember seeing Eddie a bit sort of flustered for him because he never lost words, have they? Barry.
No. They know how to handle nearly every situation. They really do.
Yeah, well, he's looking at the minute to do something at home, and he's wanting to get something on. What's your thoughts about that one?
Do you know what? Brilliant. When there's things that happen that we can't control and outside our circumstances, we can't deal with, we can't stop them from happening. The only way forward is how you react. And he reacts to situations. He doesn't just sit there and say, "Oh, well, there's nothing I can do about that." He's looked at it and thought, "Well, how can I get boxing moving? How can I get my company still working and my fighters still moving forward?" And he's come up with this plan, and it's a fantastic plan. It really is. It's a plan. And it's like anything else. It's like when he talked about doing Fox Groves at Wembley, everyone was like, Wembley, you're not going to sell that out. He did. When he talked about Saudi Arabia and boxing, that's never going to happen. People have tried that for years in the Middle East. It's never happened. It happened. And it's the same thing now with this. Some people are saying, it's not going to happen, or it's too much hard work, or this. Eddie's not afraid of hard work, neither are any of his team. And it, providing the government, which looks like it's going that way with the lockdown measures are easing.
Yeah.
It's taught, the whole procedures and everything that's in place for it is very strict and stringent. And to get into fight camp, you have to be all tested and all be proven negative. And it's boxing. It's going to start. We can't wait for thousands and thousands of fans being able to be allowed into arenas again, because we don't know when that's going to be.
No,
so
absolutely.
my fighters don't want to wait for that. I don't want to wait for that. So the people that don't want to wait, we have an option here where we can get hold of some fights. We can get involved in some fights. If you don't want to do it, that's your choice. And it's like that with anything.
Absolutely. And one of the last question for me, and then we'll go to Hurdy with a quiz and stuff, which he normally does. Have you got any, in particular young kids coming through at the minute who we all need to be looking out for down that line?
Yeah, I've got two. I've got Jordan Gill's a fantastic prospect. He's a fantastic talent. He really is. He won the Commonwealth and the WBA International title. And then he fought when he was ill, when he should have told me, and he didn't, because you fight with your balls a lot of times. You fight,
yeah.
And when they're top of the bill and cameras there and everything for them, they don't want to, say no or pull out, because the abuse that they're going to get on social media more than anything. And he made a few wrong choices in the fight and he got beat. But he's come back from that. He's come back with a win. Then he had a big issue with his illness with his thyroid and stuff like that. But that's all sorted now. And then he was supposed to fight March 28th, and then lockdown happened. So he'll be back out in July. He's earmarked for one of these shows. He's a phenomenal talent. Very, 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 very good fighter. Great kid. And I've got another one as well, Hopi Price, who is 20 years old, only just 20. He was the junior Olympic gold medalist, European gold medals twice. He's a very, very talented fighter. And he boxed on the AJ card in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. I'm good. One more question, because you mentioned AJ there. Who is the best you think at this present moment in time? Who out of the big, is it the big three? Is it the big two? Is it down to two?
Down to
does
two.
that happen at Wembley? Does it happen at Wembley? Is it going to happen in the future, do you think?
It will happen. I hope it's Wembley, but I'll be honest with you. The money these guys in the Middle East have got, I can't see it happening over here, because it's very hard to say to a fighter who's going to go in, risk his reputation, risk his life, who's going to go into a ring in the biggest fight of his career and say, earn half the money so you can box in front of your British fans. It's very hard to say that. It's like, when you can work for BMW and be loyal as you want for BMW, but if Mercedes come over and say, I'll double your money, I bet you nip over to Mercedes,
Yeah.
and that's we're all in it to it's boxing's it's a livelihood. It's about earning money as well as satisfying your dream and winning the titles. And if you can win the titles, or you've got an opportunity of winning the titles or being number one, but get paid more, you're always going to go for the option of getting paid more, I think.
Absolutely. And who wins it then? Go on, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Do you know what? It's one of those fights both men can win. But what I would say right now, Fury's the favourite. AJ is the very, very live underdog. But it's one of those. It genuinely depends. If it becomes a boxing match, I can't see AJ winning. If it comes a fight, then I see AJ's got a great chance.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's brilliant speaking to you, Dave. I'm going to pass you on to Hurdy. He's got a bit of a quiz for you. We do this all the time. We've got to try and take one of our Yorkshire favourites.
Is there £1 million win at end of it?
Yeah, £1 million
£1 million at end.
Yeah, if you beat Goffey pays that money to you. So Darren Goffey's top of this list. We're desperate to get him off this list as well, by the way, because he keeps reminding us all about that he's top of the list. So I'm going to pass you on to Hurdy. He's going to ask you a few questions, mate, and then we've got AJ coming in, who's going to talk about it. some questions from Facebook, which we've got coming through, and then I'll come in with a couple of questions at the end, mate. So pass you over to Hurdy.
All right, mate.
Before I start this quiz, we'll just touch on this quickly. Which was more satisfying, the first or the second fight with David A? Whatever he did to us, was it Achilles? Yeah.
Second, because the second went exactly how I wanted the first to go. And when I said to Bellew, as soon as Hayes' Achilles went, Bellew's mindset completely went, because he can't prepare for that. And instead of being slick and being calm and being patient, he just went and just slugged it out, and it looked terrible from that round onwards. So I was well pissed off with him after the ankle injury. Whereas the second fight was perfect. That's how he was supposed to do. No,
it was. When he did have a go at you in that press conference, you must have took that personally, because you must have thought, what the fuck? Yeah,
do you know what? I can handle that sort of stuff. But what got me and what pissed me off was my daughter would be going to school. She's 15 now, so she'll be 13 now. She's going to school, and this is the fight that everyone's talking about. Everybody, and all these kids are on the laptops or on the computers, Googling and seeing that her dad's being called these names and stuff like that, and it upset my daughter. So that's what pissed me off, was it upset my daughter.
Yeah, no. I've got just I hadn't had the same abuse you had, but I've got an alcoholic mother, and I feel your pain. Wow. I didn't have the physical abuse, but the mental and not knowing when you come up from school, it's horrible, innit? Because you never know what you're going to. I do understand all that, mate.
It's got to be tough for your kids as well, Hurdy. Only just breaking into top 200 as well. I mean, they're.
Hey, mate, have you seen my office? I'm in the room. All right for you, big Chad. Hey, just so you know, Dave, I always say this to people who don't really know Linny. Linny had an unbelievable career, but 1 week he finished second to Rory McIlroy. How many did you finish second by, Linny, in the PGA?
I can't remember.
No, go on, try and remember. 8 shots, he came second. As Jeffrey Boycott said, second, son, but he went home with 850 grand, didn't he? You can call me what you want.
That's not bad.
Exactly. Right, next question. Right, this is a quiz, quick quiz, in and about your dirty scum Man United, and a bit about Sheffield and Rotherham, and a few questions about sport in general. So your first question is, who scored the first hat-trick in the Premiership? Was it Mark Hughes, Brian McClare, or Eric Cantona?
In the Premiership, probably Brian McClare.
You're going Brian McClare. You sadly can't beat Goffey now. It was Eric Cantona.
Was it?
Was that for Leeds as well, was it not?
No, I don't know. Cause
I saw your goal. I didn't know.
I think it was. I think it was.
No, I think it was. Anyway, he would play for one or other. Anyway,
we just give our rejects over to Man United. That's all we do. Just let them float the flurry over there.
Hey, that would have. By the way,
we turn them into superstars.
Yeah, cause talking about goals, I saw your goal against Coventry the other night. It was a nice little ping, wasn't it?
It was all right, that wasn't it? Yeah, just top bags, 90 seconds in. Can't complain.
It was like one of your 6 signs now sliding off to the right into the top of the bag. Right, a bit about Sheffield. It will be a bit of a guess, but I'm sure you'll remember it. What year did Meadow Hall Shopping Centre open? Was it 94, 92, or 90? Have a think before you jump in.
90.
90. Yes, it was. Go on, son. Yeah. Reason you know. There we go. You went and bought some of them dodgy trainers with your pocket money. Right. Who beat, this is an easy boxing one, I was at this fight as well, who beat Lennox Lewis in South Africa to shock the world in 2001?
Azim Rahman.
Azim Rahman is correct. I mean, that was some punch what cleaned him, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It was. That's a fight that shows you never take anybody lightly. Because Lennox really did. He was doing movies. He was. Yeah, I mean, he was mentally weren't there. He put it right in the rematch, though.
No, he did put it right. It's a bit like AJ, wasn't it, where they just taken him a bit lightly and didn't get it fit with it. I mean, he's so high up at altitude there, mate, in Houghton, Joe. But I mean, it was just unbelievable. It was Carnival City from right. Anyway, Man United stadium capacity is what? 72, 74 or 76?
76.
76 is correct. 76 shit houses in one place.
You're a tosser, you are.
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely. But I am. But I've been plenty of times.
I've only met you today on this, and I know you're a tosser straight away.
Right. In 2010, Leeds shocked Man United in the FA Cup, of course, to win 1-0 at Old Trafford in 2010. Who scored the goal for Dirty Leeds after 17 minutes and 22 seconds? Don't I forget. You remember his name? Who scored for Leeds?
Leeds? No, I don't remember anything about Leeds.
But I'll tell you, he went from Leeds to Everton. Black lad.
Leeds to Everton.
Yeah, he
went off to Leicester as well.
He went to Leicester. He's been on this show, which don't help you. So I'm going to...
Leeds to Everton?
Yeah. Come on. For your old boss.
Why would I know that about...
because you've got to remember Leeds United giving you...
About Leeds?
Mate, you were playing Man United. I remember every game.
Yeah, but we lost that one, so I won't remember it. You believe it? We lost it.
You'll bite yourself now. This is a lad called Jermaine Beckford. He scored. He went to Everton.
Oh my God, Beck!
There you go.
Do you know what? I actually like him, but I didn't realize he played for Leeds. I don't like him now.
Yeah, he's a nice. He's actually a really nice fella. Right,
yeah, really
this
nice
is
guy.
another one. Rotherham. What river runs through Rotherham? The river what?
The Don.
Correct and right, the River Don. And this is the last question I ask every person who's been on our show. We've had over 30 now. Super Saturday 2012 London Olympics. We got 3 golds in an afternoon. Who were the 3 golds?
Oh my gosh!
You've got it. You've got the first symbol on your head.
Mo Farah.
Yeah.
Jessica Ennis.
Yeah.
And hang on.
I'm going to give you a clue. Long jumper.
Oh.
Triple jumper. Wait, triple jump or long jump?
Triple jump.
Triple jump, innit?
Yeah. Ginger Ninja.
It's not Ginger Man. It's not. Is it Rutherford?
Oh,
yeah.
Rutherford.
Yeah.
Is it Rutherford?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
very good. That's. I was going to ask you a question as well. Well done, mate. That was pretty impressive. But you answered it to start with, and it was a question that I didn't think you would say yes with, but you fought with a lot of you've trained a lot of kind of fighters. Have you ever gone into a fight knowing you're going to get your ass kicked and you said that?
Me personally, yeah.
No. Yeah, you've gone in with a fighter, not you personally.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, going in with a fighter, but you mentioned it. You said you've got journeymen and going up and against young up and coming.
Yeah, back then when I was dealing with journeymen, yeah, but not in a in a sense where you're in with a prospect or a champion. No.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a fighter now? Then coming to you, what is it? Their attitude? Is that the main thing, or is it just
attitude a lot? Actually, because so when people have come to me, Fowler, I said I didn't want to train. Jordan Gill, I didn't want to train. Hopi Price, I actually kept telling his dad, no, I'm not. I'm not interested, until I met them. When I've met them, and I've clicked with them, and I've seen what the mentality, I've seen what they're like, and the work ethic. Then it's just then I've said yeah. So mentality is a massive thing. I've got to be able to click with you and I've got to be able to like you, because for me to spend my time away from my kids, spend my time with you, it means that I value you. Do you know what I mean? And that's how it's got to be, because otherwise I won't do it.
And how hard are them training camps when you're going away? How hard is a training camp with the guys you've got? Bellew, you say you're away for maybe 6 weeks or something. How hard is that?
Oh, it's hard. I mean, we do. All right, it's harder than it sounds. I've got a deal out in Dubai now where Real Boxing Only Gym, they look after us. So I take the fighters over to Dubai, one where they're training, and we'll do a couple of weeks at a time. But it's very strict. The food's great out there and everything, because everything's strict, and you live like a fighter. But it's when you're at home that's just as hard, because you've got to their mentality's got to be right, because they're away from the families all the time. they're tired from training. They might be tired from a sprint that they did. You've got to know how to get the best out of them on each session. And again, it's down to knowing your. It's like footballers with man management. You know, you can be the best manager in the world, working with the best player in the world, and if you can't get the best out of them, if that gel's not there, then it's never going to work. You know, and that's what it is with fighters.
That's something which Michael Vaughan said to us, wasn't it? AJ's down in this bottom right-hand corner now. So AJ's got some questions from Facebook. Sorry, Erdy, is that what you were saying? Or?
Yeah, no. I just wanted to say, Jeff Barnett, the sponsor, just sent me a text. He couldn't get in, and he wanted to ask this question. He said, "Ask Dave, was David Hay practicing social distancing against Klitschko when he fought him because he was at ringside?" And he said he stayed 2 meters away from him all the way through the fight.
Because he's so into the future, he knew what were coming. Listen, what I will say is when a big giant like that can punch as hard as that, I'd stay 2 meters away from him as well.
AJ, over to you, mate. Over to you.
The real AJ.
Morning, Dave. Well, afternoon, Dave.
Hey, mate,
afternoon, Dave. Sorry.
Dave, he does this every day. He comes in. We've been doing it for 8 weeks, and he always comes in and says morning. He still hasn't got it. He still hasn't got that we go live at 12 o'clock.
I'm trying my best.
Go on, AJ.
But listen, I know you touched on this earlier, Dave, but Paul says pre-fight weigh-ins have become a bit of a show and a spectacle. Do you have a strategy going into those, or is it literally, do you let the fighter just go with the cut off the field, or do you have an actual strategy to try and mentally break down the other man or whatever it is?
No. The weighing is just about looking as well as you can on the scales and projecting that you're confident and just being relaxed. Not. What you can.
It didn't work.
He is definitely on Naz's diet, 100%.
Yeah, you have to look confident. You have to look like you're ready to fight, and you have to look healthy. And when they do the face-to-face, then it's whatever. I want my fighters to be as natural as they can, because when you're trying to be something that you're not, you're burning up energy that you don't need to be doing by tensing up. So if you want to go off on it, and if you want to give it some lip, do it, but don't force it. Do you know what I mean? Just be what you are, and sometimes fireworks happen.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks for that. Gary says, does a fighter get to keep the belt whilst they're current belt holders, or does it go back to the federation or to the board or whatever?
So if it's a British title, you only get to keep it when you've defended it 3 times. So they'll let you keep it for 2 weeks for getting all your media stuff out of the way, maybe photos with sponsors. If it's the world title, then you get that belt. But what happens is you'll get it for photos again and things like that, and then you'll have to give it back to the guy that had it, because that's his. And then the federation will send you a brand new belt, and then that's yours to keep.
Okay, brilliant, thanks. John says, and this is quite a tough one actually, but it's quite a good question, I think. If you had to make the best boxer you could ever make out of all the boxers you work with, so who's got the best chin, who's got the best feet, who's got the best punch, who's got the most, who would it,
it's like your ultimate football, isn't it?
It's like your ultimate football, yeah.
It's hard. What do you mean? Stick
it all into
one piece from each fighter?
Oh, yeah.
No, not really. Because if you see Mike Tyson, was beat and outbullied a couple of times. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's hard to say, because there are all sorts of attributes that make up a fighter. You know. What I will say about Bellew's mentality was unbelievable, because there are fighters you're determined and things like that, but Bellew's stubbornness as well, which can sometimes be his downfall, but it's stubbornness and refusal to be beat almost. Before anyone jumps on, yes, he did get beat, but his mentality is he won't go out accepting defeat. You know, and that mentality has taken him from being somebody that nobody expected to get past domestic level to being a world champion and being the name that he is now. So you've got his mentality and determination. You've got like the likes of my fighters, the likes of Jordan Gill, who's got the technical attributes and the understanding to be able to pick things up. Hopey Price picks things up even quicker than Jordan, and his feet and his boxing brain's fantastic. There's all sorts of different attributes. You know, it's hard to actually pick them from. It's like when people say, you know, talk about fighters from the past and stuff. If you could take bits from each fighter, that's a hard thing to do as well. I mean, there's so many great fighters out there that you want to take bits of, but that's what you do as a fighter. Look at different fighters, try and adapt what suits to your style. Because if you're a come forward fighter, then and that's your natural way and that's how you want to box, there's no point in you watching a sweet science counterpuncher all day. You know, take things up that you can adapt to your style.
Brilliant. Okay, and I mean, there's so many questions, and obviously, Dave, it's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for coming on the show. But Justin says he will pay $10,000 if we can sort a match out between Hurdy and Linny. And would you coach them?
If you think
I'll promote that.
Linny's nose has never been punched. Linny, that schnecker of Linny's has never been had a glove on it.
Come on, lads, come on.
He'd pay to have that softened.
We could have a live event from my gym that could do that.
There you go. What do you think?
We could do that.
Can you imagine the scorecard with the size of Hurdy's face? We score this bout 750.
I'd love to do that. You should do it. Brilliant.
There you go. Linny and Hurd. Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Your old manager.
There you go.
Thanks, Dave. Really appreciate that. Thanks, mate.
Nice one, mate.
Yeah, cheers, Dave.
Thanks,
Thank you.
mate.
We've got two other questions which we ask everybody who come onto the show. One is, who would be your ultimate four-ball? It can be golf. It's a bit similar to what we just said there, but ultimate golfing four-ball, dead or alive, or dinner.
Who would you like to
Hang on. I don't play golf. Ultimate four-ball. What's that?
Right. So, well, I'll tell you what we'll do is come down with me instead. In that set, you know, who would you have round the table?
Round the table. There you go. Perfect.
Do you know what? That's a tough one. I've had dinner with Sugar Ray Leonard, so I would have said him, but I've had dinner with him, so I'll say no. Yeah,
he's gone.
I've ticked that box. I've ticked that box. Do you know what? That's hard. That Ronaldo. I've got to say Ronaldo because maybe little boy had killed me if I didn't say Ronaldo. So I'm sorry, but Sir Alex, I'd want to pick his brains.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. Why would you?
There's no red wine left for anyone else then.
No, there isn't. No.
It's all going straight into his hooter.
There was once a fantastic, amazing boxing coach called Eddie Futch. I'd like to sit down and pick his brains. And do you know what? I'm a bit disappointed because I always used to look up to Richard Branson. I always said that I would love to sit down and pick his brains. But after him wanting money for Virgin and use government money during this, it's put me off him. So so I've kind of like sacked him off. Maybe Steve Jobs. I would have liked to have sat down and spoke to him as well.
Fantastic.
One of his stewardesses, Dave. One of his stewardesses instead of Branson.
Yeah, why not?
And the other question we asked Dave, who would get you into the most trouble on a night out?
I can't actually say this. Curtis Woodhouse, because he kind of did.
All right, okay. Tell us more.
Yeah, it might have been my. So I don't drink, but Curtis had just won. Curtis had just won a big fight, and we went to his local nightclub, and he got me drunk. And I remember the doormen were terrible. They were proper terrible, and one of them, actually, my wife was out with us. Everybody was all there after a show, like a post-fight party, and I remember somebody kicking off, and then the doorman grabbing my wife. So I've gone, and then Curtis has gone, and Curtis's mates have gone. We ended up shutting the nightclub down the nightclub got shut like an hour and a half before it was supposed to shut. So a night out with Curtis Woodhouse has ticked that box.
Turned into a nightmare.
Absolutely fantastic, mate. We really do appreciate your time. Spending an hour and 10 minutes with us. It's been fantastic. Real insight into your life and obviously into boxing and things like that. We really do appreciate it. Spending that time with us, mate. And good luck in the future. I'm sure we'll be watching. A lot of your fighters coming through, and the guys you talked about will be definitely looking out for them. But again, from all of us, cheers, mate. Really do appreciate it.
Cheers.
As always, boys down there, as always, Linny and Hurdy, thank you very much. Tomorrow, Hurdy, who have we got tomorrow now? We've got John Elm, haven't we, tomorrow?
John Elm tomorrow, and then on Thursday we got Ronnie Whelan, and then on Friday we've got...
we're waiting for that one, aren't we?
I won't mention who we've got Friday, but hopefully he scored loads of goals against Man United, dirty bastards.
Hopefully we've got something big on Friday. We might give you a clue a day, but we'll leave it at that one. What Hurdy said there. But thank you, boys, as always. Thank you to Simply Video behind us, looking after the stream. Obviously, again, fantastic as always. The Barnett brothers as well. Blue Rins, brilliant. Thank you as always for the sponsors. You can all sponsor these if you want. As always, again, SGH Sporting Events. The guys, it's Hurdy's company and AJ's company. You can buy all your bits from there, which they do, which is fantastic. And also, you can go on there and find a link for all these, which we've done over the past 8 weeks. We've done it. I think Hurdy said 30. I think we're up to 40 odd now. Legends of all sports coming on, for us, which has been fantastic. And also you can go on there and still donate for the NHS as well, because as I say, all this money is going towards the NHS, which we're trying to, to raise for us. So we'll see you tomorrow. I will have John at my office tomorrow in Guiseley, so we won't have any problems with his connection tomorrow. So we've got John Elm tomorrow. He's got some great stories, and he's got a world record as well, which he still holds. So I'm sure we'll be getting him to do that tomorrow as well. Hurdy, you're not with us tomorrow, but I know we've got a few other people in with us tomorrow. I think Howard's in tomorrow as well. So we'll see you on Thursday, Hurdy. Linnet, we'll see you again.
Thursday.
I think it's Thursday as well.
Thursday as well, yeah. Howard's on.
So we'll see you Thursday. I hope the building work goes well. My builders are still going. And again, Dave, thank you very much for coming on. Cheers, and enjoy the rest of the sun and the rest of your week. And we'll see you all soon. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Lads, just all stay on live, will you? Just when we go off live, I just want to ask the four of us a question. Cheers, lads.
Are we gone yet?
Are we gone yet?
Hey, Dave, I